They diverted shipments because of the situation in the Red Sea. They paused production in Berlin because of what they call an arson attack. And they relaunched a refreshed Model 3 in Fremont, which impacted the production ramp. Why has that impacted deliveries to this extent?
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you so much. Yeah, Tesla's definitely the news today. Yeah, we had forecasted that we're going to see a decline in Q1 for Tesla. And if you look at, just as you mentioned, they have the two models, the Y, and the S, that are really like carrying them forward, but they don't have any new product recently. And hopefully with the Roadster 2 coming in 2026, that's going to help them. But if you look like any automotive, new product really drives sales. And so I think for Tesla, they're in that in-between waves that they've mentioned on their last call of where they had, high volume products, and now they're waiting to launch this new one that's going to be more affordable, which the industry really needs. So I think Tesla has a lot of work ahead of it. And I think when they have their earnings call, I think it's going to be important for them to really lay out what that plan is to execute on that.
Stephanie, love how you're going there on the demand side of the equation. I know you focus predominantly on the United States. And interestingly, we talk a lot about, well, some of the competition coming from Chinese makers, BYD in particular. And you see also Xiaomi, for example, launching a new EV where on the first day of sales online, it looks as though bookings are north of 90,000. When you're looking at the US demand side, how much is the competition an issue for it? Or is it really the supply side, a lack of a new product that's the driver here?
I think it's the competition. If you look at last year, it was a record year, 1.2 pure battery electric vehicles. This year, this quarter, we're expecting 15% year over year. But with that, Tesla, as you saw, is, we are expecting like a 3.2% year over year growth. Meanwhile, there's some other brands are going to see significant increase Q1. The results are going to come in the next week or so we'll have that in our EV report. But some of the other products that are going to become popular, I think, are really creating more competition for Tesla. And I think that's going to continue. Tesla's finally having to compete with these other brands that are offering different styling, product range that are competing with the Tesla models. So I think definitely that's going to be a driving factor for Tesla going forward.
Caroline, I'm just going to recap the numbers because I slightly misspoke at the top. So Tesla's first quarter deliveries were 386,810. The estimate was for 449,000. As Caroline knows, Stephanie, I was one of the people that leased a Model Y in the penultimate day of the quarter. I did so because the incentives on offer, both those from the federal tax credit and those that Tesla did of its own accord, were just too good to pass up. Then on April the 1st, Tesla raised prices again, and they said they were going to do that. And what it's got me thinking about now that we have the first quarter number print is there a market anymore, particularly in this country, for a $40,000 to $50,000 EV? It seems like that's gone, and everyone is waiting for the $25,000 EV to finally materialize.
Yeah, you hit on it. If you think about EV adoption, like our research consistently shows that price is one of the major barriers, along with infrastructure. And at the end of February, the average EV was $52,000. If you look back 2 years ago, the price premium in EV was about $17,000. So in February, that gap narrowed to about $5,500. But still, it's expensive, right? And so I think affordability is key to adoption. And I think we're going to need some more of those vehicles that are at that different price point. And I think as we start to see more used EVs enter the market, that might be able to accommodate some of that price point barriers.
Rivian is another interesting one. They beat expectations on both production and deliveries, though they kind of set the bar low, which has been kind for the quarter. What do you make of a name like Rivian, where they offer the big boxy EV that Americans love? They like light truck category, they like big cars, but they seem still like a niche player.
Well, any of these new entrants into the EV market, they're struggling with, cash, trying to build up their brand. They don't have any ICE vehicle revenue to support that. But with Rivian, I think the unveiling of the R2 created a lot of energy for that brand. And I think it's going to be key if they're able to execute on that. But that R2 is going to be critical in terms of giving them entry into this high volume segment and more affordable volumes, and hopefully being able to turn a profit over long term. So I think Rivian's on a good path, and I think definitely that R2 unveiling helped ignite some of that excitement about the brand.
Stephanie, we talk about the incentives offered from a federal perspective. At the moment, is the biggest competition to an EV a hybrid, just because we're still so worried about infrastructure?
Great question.
Yes, I think we're going to continue to see gas hybrids increase in sale, because if you think about a gas hybrid, there's nothing different, like you said. It's the same experience as driving an ICE vehicle. You don't have to worry about charging, infrastructure, any of that. So I think we're going to see that because it's a good gateway as we try to navigate to full electrification. Hybrid's definitely a good option, and we'll probably start to see more plug-in hybrids as well, since that's a good gateway as well.
Stephanie, is policy support working in this country?
I definitely think it is. If you think about the incentives, I think that $7,500, as we know, with the changes in the regulations, some became ineligible, but I think that definitely has helped with adoption. And I think one of the things that changed with the point of purchase, now that you get that 7,500 at point of purchase, I think that is also attractive. But I will say that I think the incentives are very confusing, and some consumers aren't aware of them, and confusing what is eligible, what isn't. So I think there needs to be more education around just EVs in general, around the incentives, the value of an EV, what's it like to drive an EV, that total cost of operation is going to be important as well. So I think we have a lot of work ahead. In January, one of our key messages was for EV, it's going to be the year or more. So we're going to see more sales, but we're going to see more bumps. We're going to see more incentives, more price cuts, but also I think we're going to see the industry build more sales muscle and really selling these EVs to that next wave of adoption.